And now you have listened, so now it's time to record the message. In other words, to take notes. So I want to talk about 5 different note-taking systems. And the first note-taking system I want to talk about is the formal outline. This is the note-taking system that most people use. Really, it's the note-taking system that most people use because it's the one that we learned when we were in elementary school. You all remember this, that you put the title at the top of the page, and then you had the subject with a big Roman numeral 1, the subject with a big A and a 1 there. That this is the note-taking system that most people use. However, as we got older, we got lazier, and we have a strong tendency now just to do it with indentations. And if you have any title at all at the top of the page, it's typically just the date. Big aspect on the formal outline system is it requires consistency and structure. You need to do it the same way all the time. The next note-taking system is the creative note-taking system. In the creative outline, we divide the page into 2 separate sections. The larger section is for your formal outline, and the smaller section is for things like keywords, assignments, little miscellaneous information that you may want to keep or have stand out. Now, this is the type of note-taking system that you would use where there's lots of keywords and terminology involved. For the next note-taking system, it's called the mind map. And in the mind map, we put the main idea right smack dab in the center of the page, and then the sub-ideas radiate out from that, and the sub-ideas radiate out from that. Some of you might have learned this system as the web, and however, if you answer the web on the final exam, you will get it wrong. The fourth note-taking system is the Cornell or the T note-taking system. It divides the page into 3 sections, and this is a very, very powerful note-taking system. In the 3 sections, you have a section for notes from the textbook, sections from notes for the class, and a written summary section where you write out in paragraph form what was talked about in class. Now remember here, you don't keep your textbooks. That at the end of each module, you return your textbooks. So if there's some information that you want to keep from that textbook, this note-taking system has a section for it. This is specifically notes from the textbook. And what makes this note-taking system so very powerful is this written summary section. In this written summary section, you actually write out in paragraph form what was discussed in class. And this brings me to a point of one of the most powerful study techniques, that this one little phrase right here that just popped up, if you cannot put it into words, you have not thought about it. That one little phrase will cut your studying time down significantly and make your shorter study time a lot more effective. We think in language. The better your thoughts, the better your language. The better your language, the better your thoughts. When you force yourself to put something into words, you force yourself to think about it. And when you force yourself to think about it, you start moving that material into your long-term based knowledge. So put it into words, write this stuff down. This also might be the note-taking system that you'd want to use for some of your core courses, material that you're going to need to keep for a long time and refer back to it. And our final note-taking system is called the combination note-taking system. This is for those of us that really can't make up our minds. You might have a section for a mind map, a section for a formal outline, a section specifically for assignments that are due, a section for keywords, and maybe even a section for a doodle. Now that doodle section I think is very important for anybody who's a kinesthetic learner. And you actually have a section on your notebook where you can just doodle. Not so much draw pictures, but just keep your hand moving. And keeping your hand moving is a very kinesthetic thing. So our 5 note-taking systems. We had the formal outline requiring consistency and structure. We had the creative outline system, divides the page into 2 sections. The mind map, using the whole page with the main idea in the center. The Cornell or the T note-taking system divides the page into 3 sections. A section for notes from the textbook, notes from class, and a written summary section. And finally, the combination note-taking system. Now I want to talk about some get better grade strategies. Some getting better grade strategies, just in case you're interested in actually getting better grades. The first one is to be prepared, and this falls into 3 different areas. Be prepared physically. Have pen and paper before you come to class. Be prepared mentally. Psych yourself up. No matter how boring that instructor is, no matter how much I don't like this class, I'm going to take notes. I'm going to learn something. Read the chapter before class. And a very powerful note-taking system is to take notes on the chapter before class and bring those notes to class. That is a very, very powerful note-taking system. You can compare what the instructor is lecturing on to what's in the textbook. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the other way around. You can't take your lecture notes and compare them to the textbook. It's taking the notes from the textbook and comparing to the lecture. That works as a very, very powerful note-taking system, very, very powerful get better grade system. The next one sounds silly, but to sit up front. If you're understanding the material, you can sit anywhere you want and still get a good grade. If that material is coming easily and freely to you, sit anywhere you want, you'll get a good grade. But if you're not understanding, if it's a difficult course for you, your grade will improve by simply moving to the front of the class. The instructor can see what you're doing. The instructor can receive your nonverbal feedback about whether you're understanding or not. The instructor will consider you a more serious student. Simply moving to the front of class will improve your grade. And remember to use your learning styles, your visual, auditory, kinesthetic learning styles, as well as your inter and intrapersonal styles. Make your studying according to your learning style. If you're an interpersonal learner, get in a study group. Get people around you to help you study. If you're an intrapersonal learning style, the study groups probably won't help you too much. Visual learners study with good lighting and a visually pleasant environment. Auditory learners, you might need to read your notes into a tape recorder and have them played back. Study with background music, but use your learning styles. Kinesthetic people always have something to study with. One of my big suggestions for kinesthetic people is to put your notes on flashcards, 3x5 cards, so you can just kind of flick through them, and just that flicking through them is a kinesthetic activity. This one is specifically a note-taking strategy, is that to leave space for revisions. Paper is cheap. Don't fill up the whole page, but leave gaps in there. Leave gaps so that you can go back and fill things in. As you're sitting at your dining room table studying, you're reading through your notes, you go, oh yeah, we also talked about. It leaves a space for you to write that in. If you use shorthand, or you can expand out your shorthand so that weeks later you can go back and you actually know what you were talking about in your notes. So leave those spaces for revisions in there. And some things to do to increase your understanding from your notes. In other words, some study techniques. First one, and this is so very powerful, is to summarize or to paraphrase out loud what you learned in class from your notes. So you have your notes sitting in front of you, you read your notes, and actually say out loud, just looking at your notes, say out loud what you learned in class from your notes. It doesn't work to say it in your head. This is to say it out loud. If you're embarrassed to talk to yourself, then you can actually write it out, but that's an awful lot of work. So just say it out loud. Teach your dog or your cat or your goldfish or your kids or whatever it is what you learned in class from your notes. Does not count to say in your head. Big one here is to edit and revise your notes. Expand out your shorthand. If you're a kinesthetic learner, I suggest that you type your notes. You have your written notes, go home and type your notes up. Typing is a kinesthetic activity, so typing your notes up will really help you. If your handwriting is bad as mine, you really edit these things out, expand them out so you can read them. And reviewing your notes. Reviewing your notes is when you say it in your head. When you go through your notes, and every time you go through your notes saying this material in your head, you're bringing it back into your memory. But it had to be in your memory to start with, and that's to summarize it out loud. So reviewing your notes and summarizing it are different. Summarizing it, saying out loud, reviewing it, saying in your head. Oops, that was the last one. I'm going to go back to the screen. Regularly monitor and evaluate your notes. Are you taking good notes or not? And if you're not taking good notes, make the commitment that you will start taking good notes.